So I said before that everybody's pretty much decided. There really is nobody who's still trying to figure out who they want to vote for. And there isn't anything, really, that either candidate can do to fuck up where they're standing right now. Because no matter what Joe Biden does, the left just doesn't care. The dude could walk out, do a thing naked, start jacking it on stage, and they'd be like, oh, Joe's so crazy. Right? They don't give a fuck. Donald Trump can't make a mistake. Because people on his side, if he pisses them off enough, they'll turn against him. Now, I don't know what they'll do. They might just decide not to vote. Which, is the thing. Nevertheless. And I think I said something to the effect of Donald Trump would have to, piss on the American flag or some such like that. It would have to be something severe to the base. So, I didn't go to work yesterday. I didn't go to work yesterday. Because I was fucked up. And I recorded some videos yesterday, but I didn't post anything. I was just feeling like shit. It was severe muscle fatigue, apparently. I was all full of lactic acid. I gotta be careful how I say that because I misheard her, and I thought she said lactate, and I was like, lactate? And she's like, no, lactic. And I'm like, okay. It's because I'm like, I got a bunch of titty milk in me? What the fuck? Anyways. So, felt like shit yesterday. Didn't go to work. So I really pay attention to a lot of stuff. I didn't get much breaking news. Because I was just here, just feeling like shit. So of course I didn't really want to watch the news. So today, driving into work, and I hear about how Donald Trump apparently said that our fallen soldiers were losers and suckers and all this, that, and the other thing. And I just started busting up laughing. I'm like, wow. This is interesting. Because I'm like, this would matter. Like, this sort of shit, this would matter. This would matter to the base, big time. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's gotta be bullshit. I don't know, that's gotta be bullshit. And I start hearing about the story. The Atlantic or whoever it was came out with some story about how Donald Trump's trip to France, which I remember, right? I remember that trip. During that trip, they were supposed to go to some graveyard, but it was raining. And Donald Trump didn't want to go because his hair would get wet. And I don't understand why I gotta fucking see all these dead sucker losers anyways. Whatever the fuck, right? This is the story. And I remember this trip. And I don't remember hearing about that. I remember that I was heard that it was raining. I remember that. And that was the reason why the president couldn't go to one of the graveyards, because it was raining. And at the time I was just like, alright. Because nobody made a fuss about it. Right? When this happened, nobody made a fuss about it. One would think, even back then, that'd be a fucking thing to talk about, wouldn't it? Whatever, okay. So these people sat on this information until yesterday, the 3rd of September. Now, could there possibly be some political motivation in this story coming out? Well, I don't know. Let's think about it. It's an election year. It's September. We're 2 months away. Literally yesterday. We're 2 months away. Literally 2 months away yesterday from the election. Election night, November 3rd. 2 months from yesterday, right? Joe Biden ain't doing very well. The polls were showing a closing in the gap. Now, here's what I always kind of say with Donald Trump polls. You take the plus or minus. You take the maximum of the plus for the poll. Add that to whatever percentage Donald Trump has. And if it's not like a percent or two over, then whatever, that's it. But if it pushes it a percent or two over, you have to kind of accept that that's probably most likely what it was. Right? So I kind of do that whenever I see these polls. I go, well, what's plus or minus? 5? Okay, so he's got 51%. Okay, fine. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the math doesn't entirely work out sometimes, but nevertheless, it's kind of where you're at, as far as I'm concerned. So the polls are starting to tighten up, which means Joe Biden is losing big time. They know this because as much as they love to play stupid about the whole how the fuck did Hillary lose thing, they understand that the polls were fucking wrong. So I think that they're fucking around with plus or minus as well. Just saying. And they're seeing that Joe Biden is losing big time. They're seeing a lot of shit is not going their way. They dropped the ball and then kicked it. Like, they dropped the ball and then punted that motherfucker on the whole violence in the streets and riots shit. Like, they didn't say fuck all for the over 3 months, or around 3 months. They didn't say shit about it. They didn't say shit during the DNC. They didn't fucking talk about it at all until like a week ago. Now, we're getting close to day 100 of riots in Portland. We're getting close to day 100. Last week they started talking about fuck all these riots and shit. They dropped the ball and then punted it. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to come anywhere near this shit because they knew these are our people. You know, no matter how you want to slice it, they have thrown their lot in with Black Lives Matter. This is Black Lives Matter people that are out there protesting, and then Antifa people get into that protest and go, hey, let's start rioting. And then one person chucks a bottle, and then everybody's fighting. And because everybody's fighting now with cops, everybody just joins into the fight. Like, everybody, the whole mob mentality thing just, and then it's a rush. And then all of the peaceful protesters are now fucking rioters. Right? So, and Antifa's with them. Like, that, because they're all down with mass destruction of the system. They're with AOC and that whole fucking group. So they're like, well, there are people. We can't say they're doing bad stuff. There's good people on both sides. Which is not the argument they made. They could have made that argument. That kind of was now kind of what their argument is. There's good cops and there are good protesters. But there are also some bad cops and some bad rioters. But there's good people on both sides. Like, this is what they're saying now. This is their fucking... So, like, they just have fucked up for like a month or two straight now. And they're trying madly to figure out how the fuck they can get out. Like, they're drowning. They're looking for anything. And then all of a sudden, this terrible fucking story comes out that will upset the base. What a godsend. Now here's what I think is funny about it. Apparently, and I got this from Tim. This is not part of my information, this is Tim's information. But he's got some dude on Twitter that I guess put out a FOIA request for like the documentation of that day, you know, with whatever the fuck happened with being able to go to the graveyard. And apparently There's official government documentation that says that the Navy said, no, you can't go to the graveyard. The ceiling's too low because of the rain. It's not safe to fly the helicopter, especially with the President of the United States. And we're not going to drive your ass 2 hours cross country so that you can go stand around in a fucking cemetery. No. That's way too far of a drive for security reasons, and we can't fly you for security reasons. Hold up. Alright. So, you know what I mean? It's like, can't do that shit. So there's official documents that say Navy called it off. Trump had no choice. He was told, fuck no. Right? That's funny. So apparently the idea that Trump didn't want to go to this graveyard because his hair would get wet and he didn't want to stand in the rain and all this, that, and the other thing, he just didn't want to go. Apparently that's bullshit. Navy said no. So that's bullshit right off the bat. Second thing, Trump didn't want to get his hair wet. I shit you fucking not. I'm listening to Fox. One of the goddamn reporters is like, oh, I was there with him that day. And I remember, the whole thing with they called it off because of the rain. And then I remember the next day where we went to the other funeral, or to the other graveyard, and there was Donald Trump standing in the rain for an hour and a half. His hair got all sorts of wet. I don't know. So there we have one person who's willing to give an eyewitness account that Donald Trump standing in the rain and he'd muss up his hair is kind of a bullshit reason because the day after he stood in the rain and mussed up his hair. So I don't know, but and then not only that, but as far as the comments, did Trump say these terrible, awful things about our fallen heroes? Well, apparently John Bolton, we all remember John Bolton, right? Was president's fucking whatever the hell he was in the cabinet or some shit like that, and the president didn't like him because he thought he was a dick, so he fired his ass, and then John Bolton got all upset, and then he came after Trump with all this shit, wrote a book about Donald Trump, is essentially accusing him of the whole Ukraine thing. Like, essentially saying, yeah, in this book, the whole Ukraine thing, yeah, that happened, or whatever it was, or Russia. I don't even fucking know. They all get so muddled at this point. There's so many of them. But John Bolton releases this book essentially saying that this fucking shit happened, right? And then John Bolton comes out today, apparently, and is like, yeah, I was with the president the whole time on that trip. He never said any of that shit. John Bolton does not love this man. Would love for this to be true. And if it was true, and he could attest to it as being true, then he would more than happily, I think, go, dude, I was standing right fucking there. He said, losers. He would love to do that. But apparently something happened to him, and he's decided to not lie. So he's like, I was there, president never said that shit. I don't know. Hey, I don't know. I am not the president. I am not with that man. I cannot protect him better than he can protect himself. Right? I have no clue. I am not a fly on his asshole. I don't know if he said that shit or not. But I'm willing to believe that Donald Trump, he's said and done some dumb shit. He did some dumb shit not too long ago. He put up a Facebook thing saying, if you want to vote by mail, go ahead and vote by mail. But then make sure you go to your polling place and check to see that your vote got counted. And if it didn't get counted, vote again. Because that way, it'll guarantee one of your votes gets counted, and then when they get the other one in the mail, they'll just throw it away because it's a double count. Now, I don't know how reasonable of a thought that is. I don't know how legal of an action that is. I don't know. But dude, like, if you want to... Here. Let's take the president's Facebook post and let's cut it down for timing's sake, right? Like they do with movies. We cut this actually kind of cool scene out for timing purposes. Alright, here's what you should do. if you want to vote by mail, but you're worried about your vote being counted, don't vote by mail. Go vote in person, because then you'll know your vote's going to get counted. If you vote by mail, good luck to you. May or may not. Who fucking knows? But if you go there in person, they're going to count your vote. Ta-da! He comes up with this wild fucking shit. If you vote by mail and then go down there, and if they haven't got it yet or don't know, fucking, I don't know, then you go, alright, well, fuck it, I want to vote in person. Dude. You only get to vote once. If you vote by mail, then you have tossed the dice to fate. You said, you do it, I don't know, I'm not all that concerned about it. If you're concerned about your vote being counted, you better do it in person. This is the best way for your vote to be most likely counted. If you do it by mail, who knows? I'm predicting at least one mail truck set on fire. We might not even hear about it on the news. I'm just saying, at some point, some crazy person on one side or the other, because everybody's amping up. It could be anybody, right? One crazy person is going to set a fucking, the mailman's going to leave their truck where they leave it so that they can go and walk the block, right, to go and deliver mail or whatever, and some idiot's going to set that motherfucker on fire. I'm just telling you, because they're going to be thinking, I live in a red district, or I live in a blue district, I could help. I guarantee it, man. This is like, some asshole's gonna do that shit. So at the very least, you're safeguarding against that possibility. Right? That just some crazy person goes around and torches fucking mailboxes because they're nuts. Right? Like, let's not start questioning whether or not there are crazy people in the world. We've been dealing with them all week, personally. So, like, right? So the president says and does a lot of dumb shit. And yes, the president called John McCain a loser. Because the president didn't like John McCain. And no, the president probably shouldn't have called John McCain a loser. And no, the president probably shouldn't have said that he likes people that don't get caught. Like, there was a lot of shit with John McCain that perhaps was a bad idea in retrospect. But you know what? Hindsight's 2020. What are you gonna fucking do now? Now, this shit comes out that sounds awfully familiar, and now it's a fucking issue. But, dude, John Bolton said he didn't say it. If for the very least, because of the simple fact that John Bolton has no reason to tell that story as a lie, but has every reason to tell that, yeah, Donald Trump said terrible things about our veterans, even as a lie. Like, so, he has no good reason to say anything good about the president other than it's true. And he has every reason to lie about the president if he so fucking wanted to. So, I think at some point some Secret Service guy that was most likely with the president every step of the way in France, because he's in a different country. So I imagine there was at least quite a few of the guys around him a lot. And I imagine at some point some of them might get interviewed. And, I don't know if they have rules against talking about that kind of shit. But who knows? At some point down the line, they might retire and go, there was just one thing that always bugged me about my career. I was with Donald Trump that whole fucking time. He never said that shit. Like, who knows? Or they could come out and go, yeah, just bugging me the whole time. Everybody said Donald Trump didn't say that shit. And he fucking did. I was standing right there. Could go either way. But I don't know. I don't buy it. I think it's bullshit. John Bolton said it's bullshit. And if anyone in Washington, D.C. is going to know some bullshit, John Bolton, he wrote a book about it.